Abuse of Private Enclaves and Intent to Defraud. By Anna von Reitz. Information provided to H.E. Cardinal Mamberti and the Vatican Chancery Court in regard to our claims, March 6, 2005, January 19, 2023, in Seek. We have demonstrated intent to defraud and to evade the public law in the form of supporting legislation, such as the Naval Agency and Dispositions Act of 1864, and we have described how Americans have been unlawfully converted to the political status of British Territorial U.S. citizens in order to expedite a variation of the Bottomry Bonds Scandal, but Americans have not been the only victims of this modern birth registration and lost bonded property scheme using babies as the lost vessels and their estates as the cargo. Here are some of the purposeful premeditated legislative acts that set up the same basic scheme against people living in Australia and elsewhere in the Commonwealth nations. Commonwealth Naturalisation Act 1903. Merchant Shipping Act 1906. 1906 Marine Insurance Act 6 ed 7 circa 41. Merchant Shipping Act 1906. Notification of Births Act 1907. Assurance Companies Act 1909. Motor Vehicle Insurance Section amended by Road Traffic Act 1930. All the legislative elements necessary to implement the criminal fraud scheme we've described as a variation of the Bottomry Bonds Scandal, and which were needed to operate this scheme against the people of the Commonwealth nations, were enacted between 1903 and 1909. We include the Road Traffic Act of 1930 to demonstrate how, having established a fraudulent public ownership interest in the vessel, baby, and in their cargo, their estate, the same legislatures moved on to use similar undisclosed registration processes to claim a non-existent public interest in privately owned cars and trucks, by mischaracterizing and redefining them as motor vehicles. The unlawful conversion of Aussies, Canadians and others and the change of their natural political status so as to misidentify them and traffic them and their property into the foreign jurisdiction of the sea, was expedited by the Commonwealth Naturalisation Act and the Notification of Births Act, while the Merchant Shipping Acts and related insurance acts set up the rest of the constructive fraud. This was all clearly premeditated by the various legislatures involved and establishes proof of intent to defraud and seize upon property belonging to their treaty partners and service contract obligers. We have brought forward this information concerning the abuse of other nations to demonstrate the vastness of the constructive fraud and scope of the injury created by the municipal and crown corporations for their own unjust enrichment. We move on to the creation and use of private enclaves to serve as inland pirate bases. The District of Columbia is one such example of an enclave, the municipality of Washington, D.C., is another, and the inner city of London is still another. These enclaves are set aside from the ownership of the surrounding land and soil, and also provided with some degree of political immunity. They are universally foreign with respect to the surrounding host country. The foreign enclave serving Great Britain, Inc. was established in 1765 on the Isle of Man via Isle of Man Purchase Act 1765-5 Geo. 3 circa 26, which allowed the Isle of Man to serve as an offshore tax haven for Great Britain, Inc., its affiliates and franchises. Puerto Rico served a similar purpose for the municipal government of the United States, and Norfolk Island was used by territorial government interests in exactly the same way for their undisclosed occupation of Terra Australis. These so-called offshore tax havens were created for the benefit of the government corporation subcontractors, employees, and agencies, but they were also used to promote crimes including tax evasion, money laundering, identity theft, public trust fraud, human trafficking and much, much more. The similarity of the setup worldwide suggests that it was all accomplished either by one organization or according to a template which other incorporated, government services providers, adopted, perhaps at the point of a gun. The similarities of the supporting legislation and organizational elements in each case suggests the existence of a conspiracy to defraud the people and undermine the national governments of each country affected. The choice of Puerto Rico as the base for the offshore tax haven serving the United States Municipal Corporation must have seemed too good to be true. Puerto Rico is part of the British Commonwealth system and still operates, in part, under the Spanish law of the Inquisition. This has enabled the Inquisition to operate in America via undeclared foreign agents. Only here, generations of Americans have been taught to call it the Internal Revenue Service or IRS instead. Issued by Anna Maria Riesinger, fiduciary. The United States of America in care of Box 520994 Big Lake, Alaska 99652. April 10, 2023. Thank you for liking and subscribing. For more information about the great fraud that has been perpetrated against the American states and people, and what you can do about it, please visit www.tasa.americanstatenationals.org. Thank you.